we're going to build a business that lasts the test of time. We're going to build something that I can pass on to my kids and them to their kids and to their kids. We're going to build an apex class competitor. I learned that it's not your circumstances that makes the difference, it's what you do about it. I learned a lot of lessons that I had read about but never felt, never dealt with it directly. And I think I got very close to God spiritually during that time because I had poured everything. I ended up losing everything that I had built.
Welcome back to the Brand Builders Podcast. Today we have Tylynne Eaton from Empire Management Group with us today. And Tylynne is involved in lots of different things, built a lot of cool brands and businesses. And so welcome to the podcast today.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
How's it going?
Man, good. Blessed to be here.
Heck yeah. So kind of just fill us in, like, who is Tylynne? What are some of the brands that you have built up to this point? And it can be things that have done well or have not done well, because every entrepreneur has things that do not go well in the beginning.
You're going to run into it. So I guess who I am, number one, I'm a follower of Christ. Number two, I'm a family man, and I enjoy my family. I live for my family. And number three, I'm a contributor, right? Be fruitful and multiply, I think, is our driven purpose. And my grandfather has always been a very good spiritual leader. I had a great example of a father. And I've got great examples of family that got into business and took risks and gave their best. And so, it was really a cool breakdown of what I could see to exemplify and be like, and what torch I can carry onward. For me, I worked for my dad's business when I was in high school, and I got to see his time of building the company and all the things that went on, and all the blessings and all the obstacles, and the challenges that came up through that at a really, really young age, and see that grow and multiply, and the conversations at the dinner table, and just seeing how he and my mom were impacted by those things. And my granddad's been an entrepreneur. I was just around it a lot. And so when I went to McMurray, in the beginning, I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to be a teacher and, contribute to kids. And I love sports. But after being around that and working heavily in the business my freshman year of college, I fell in love with it, and I wanted to do that. So I started a little landscaping company in college, and it was just mowing lawns.
Just by yourself?
Eating landscaping, yeah. And then I had some good buddies that all, helped me out, and we had a lot of fun doing it. I still think back at those times, like the challenges that came, and it was just simple. We were just mowing lawns, right? But every time that something came about, like I remember doing the first landscaping design project and seeing like a $4,000 job, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing!" Like I'm used to working for $40, and many different scenarios like that happened when I owned that little landscaping company. And when I graduated college, I had the option to go out and find a job or continue working for myself, and I chose to continue working for myself, and ended up running into some really cool things. I had a stint like 6 months after I graduated. I lost some money on a job, and I had to basically restart. And it was that process of restarting that kind of changed in my mind. And I'm like, okay, I got to start figuring some things out. Met a mentor who started kind of feeding my mind, and between him, my dad, I had a lot of good mentors that led me through the challenges I was facing, mostly self-inflicted, right? And carried that on. Had an opportunity. I did some really, really big landscaping projects, like $60,000+ projects that opened up my mind even more. And I got a chance. So it was right after I'd done that. I was marketing a lot on Facebook and on other sites, and Hella's Construction called me and asked me to bid on the Shotwell practice stadium, doing the landscaping around there. Well, this is the first time I'd ever seen a set of plans. And so I was like, oh crap, I don't know what I'm looking at. It took me 2 weeks to turn in a number, and I never got a call back because I'm sure it was astronomically high. you know, you turn that got me on a different process. I got to thinking, I'm like, holy cow, there's jobs out there that do $300,000+. I was like, I want that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got obsessed. I invested a little bit of money in the plan reading software, learned how to do that. And, ended up, we landed some really, really good projects in 2019. 2020 was getting pretty good. During 2020, my granddad, Anthony, sends me a snapshot of the newspaper, and it was Benjamin ISD goes out for bond. And now at the time, the biggest job I've ever done at this point is like $100,000, and they're talking about a football stadium. And so I'm 24, 25, and I was like, there's no way I can do this. But then he's always told me, he's like, dance, little David, dance. You better go get it, right? and it was in sports and everything like that. He just gave me so much faith and put so much faith in me. So I ended up going and cold calling the company that was going to be managing the project. And I met with Jimmy and Johnny, the owners, that were in their 70s, by the way. And I go have lunch with them. I'm a 25-year-old kid having lunch with these wise old guys that have been in business for years. And I was nervous. I was praying the whole way up there, Lord, please give me the words to speak. And we sat down and we had a 2.5 hour lunch. And it just went amazing. Like, I was telling my vision, I was casting my vision. And, as we were leaving, Jimmy shook my hand. He said, Bud, we're going to give you some opportunity. And if you do right with that, we'll give you a shot at this big one. And
Wow.
So I bet a few jobs with them. We ended up going and doing a few. And you fast forward a year to the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, he comes out and he tells me, okay, here's the plans. We start bidding it. We got through the pre-qualification rounds. And instead of just bidding sections of it, I told him I wanted to do the whole thing. And I wanted the whole contract. And I would find the subs and they could deal directly with me. And so that's the way we did it. And ended up, there's 2 final bidders in the final sets of plans that came out. Myself and Hellas Construction. The people that invited me to first get involved in this and get excited about it. And we ended up winning that bid against Hellas, and that was the biggest project I'd done. We did a few others during that same time, and we ended up doing $5 million of work in 2021. Well, toward the end of that year, I found out that I had made a big mistake in 2020. I messed up. I underbid a job with the city of Plano, and that deal turned into a nightmare for me in 2022. I was still doing other things, other projects that I had to be on. But through that year, I ended up losing everything that I had built, all the profit that I had gotten on the 25 big jobs that I had done in the last 2 years. And, in November, whenever that deal shut down and I had to close my doors, I was distraught, man. Of course, I was tormented for the whole year, and I learned a lot of faith. I learned that it's not your circumstances that makes the difference. It's what you do about it. I learned a lot of lessons that I had read about but never felt, never dealt with it directly. And I think I got very close to God spiritually during that time because I had poured everything. I mean, I was working 80 hours a week for 4+ years at that point. My wife was not, pregnant, and I was gone every week, getting to see her 1 day a week. I landed that Benjamin job 2 weeks after my son was born. So I got to be home for a full year. God was in every section of that time for me. And, losing it crushed me. Losing it, I never lost faith throughout all of it. I was bidding jobs that were, I bid on an $18 million job toward the end of that deal. And they told us that we got it verbally, and just things happened that shut that deal down. And, I had faith. I never thought at one moment we were going to lose the company. But when it happened, then it was like, the devil started creeping in and started chirping his ear. And you were nothing. You never should have taken that risk. Look at yourself. Your family is going to starve because of you. You're going to lose everything again, and it was a tough experience. So Eaton Construction ended up closing. But it was during that time I've had this vision of this brand and looking at what all had played out with my great granddad owning a dozer business and it not lasting the test of time. My granddad owning the dozer business, it not lasting the test of time. My dad, and then I was just another. It was the same old, same old. For generations that's occurred. And I said, you know what? I'm not stepping down. We're going to build a business that lasts the test of time. We're going to build something that I can pass on to my kids and them to their kids and to their kids. We're going to build an Apex class competitor. And so I had this vision of Apex Empire Incorporated, that has 7 business units that work in a flywheel model that feed each other opportunities so that no market conditions can touch us.
Yeah.
No outside situations can touch us. And the first one that I was going to be building was Empire Management Group, financial services, getting connected, delivering on our promises. And that's kind of where we're at in this phase. I mean, to get out of that hole, I started working with Aflac, and that I didn't even realize that you could have that much upside potential equal to the construction business with as little risk as I have doing what I do now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's got me excited about the future. So
yeah. So Empire Management Group, what does that all include, and where did you, like, what sparked the desire to go into that specific thing?
to be honest, it would be probably the people I was looking at, the people that I admired, like Patrick Bet-David is somebody that I watched a lot during that time, and with the early valuetainment stuff, the how-tos, and I was constantly trying to figure out what makes somebody successful. I enjoyed seeing what they did with the financial services. Obviously, did a $300+ million exit. And I was like, okay, well, if a guy, immigrant from Iran that could barely speak English, can do this, then I can do something similar. I can find a niche in this market space, and do something similar to it. Because I love people. Like, one of the things I love the most about being in construction was the development of people that I got to pour into.
Yeah. So that's where that originated from?
Yeah.
Patrick Bet-David?
Absolutely.
I've watched some of his stuff. He's brilliant. That's interesting. Okay, cool. Okay, so now you're doing the Empire Management, and how did you go about figuring out how to run this type of business? Because it's significantly different than construction.
A lot different, but it's also projects. It's a lot of mini projects, and then a lot of them are people projects, right? And so, like, you observe, orient, define, act, the OODA loop. It's kind of a Six Sigma military style of looking at after action review. And so I always did that in the construction business, and I was always like super analytical and had spreadsheets on, deliverables and when things needed to be where, and being able to organize my calendar to make sure things got touched when it needed to be touched, not letting things slip through the cracks. And so I think that ability to do that in coming into this, at first it was just me selling, right? I'm selling a service, I'm providing a service. So in the beginning, it was employee benefits. How do I operate this business? And I had great mentors in when I began in this. And so I was building my rocket ships, or my systems, if you will, the first month before we even got started. So I already knew, okay, where stuff is being stored, how we're going to handle claims, how we're going to handle enrollment preparation, how we're going to structure out and prioritize who I need to go see, and it was kind of that, I guess, the mindset of knowing how to run an operation that had a lot of moving parts and doing it specifically in this. I didn't necessarily reinvent the wheel. I just changed my project.
Yeah, you just kind of applied it in a different situation in business. Yeah. Okay, cool. So at the beginning of Empire Management Group, did you start off with a previous client base, or did you start off like with 0 people?
I mean, I had people that I knew, but if I'm being honest with you, the people that I knew, I'm still are not my clients, right? I started out with the local hospitals. I started out with I could talk construction, so I have some construction companies that I deal with because I could talk business with them. I know what challenges they're going through, and I know how to, align with them in certain ways. And so it was really just not necessarily previous business clients, but being able to go and use my previous business experience and where I'm from and my granddad's experience of, the service he provided. Like I was able to cast a really clear, good vision and sell people on me, that
Yeah.
I was worth the risk of taking this chance doing business with me.
Yeah. Okay. So you brought up selling, and selling is like a big topic in the business world. Obviously, if you don't sell, then you don't make any money, which
Yeah.
is the whole point you're in business. And so, whenever it comes to like the mindset of selling, and we've talked about this briefly before, but what is your take on that? Because there's like a very earthly traditional version of selling, and then there's like more of your take and my take of providing an equal value exchange. And so go into that because I love your perspective on it.
To me, I think if you replace selling with helping and you find out, okay, what's the problem? And here's how I can fix it. Here's why I'm different than someone else. And here's what it's going to cost. Everything is about value.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is about how much value are you providing me? How much am I going to get if I do business with you? It's the same thing as if I'm hiring somebody to mow my lawn, right? Sometimes it's based on price, but it's also based on are you going to be safe around my family?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to be consistent when I call you? Like there's many different value exchanges that come, and I think that you got to understand your customer and what do they want out of this, and can you deliver the experience that they're looking for?
Yeah. So whenever it comes to like the logistics of selling, what was the route that you took? Did you get on calls with them? Did you go in person? Like, did you create presentations? How did you go about that side of things?
Everything I've ever really done of significance has been face to face.
Is that intentional?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it is because I can look in your eyes, and the eyes are a window to your soul.
Mhm.
Like if I'm going to do business with somebody, I want to look in their eyes and I want to trust and feel the spiritual connection there, the intuitive feeling that I can trust you to do what you say you're going to do. Because I've hired people and I've done business with people that didn't do it. And I probably intuitively, had I asked another question, I probably would have figured that out before I had to make that mistake.
Yeah.
But I like going in person because I know I'm true and honest, and I have a passion that's probably way excels a lot of people that are in our industry about doing business with others. And I try. It's not selling. It just flows out of me. Like I want to make sure that you're going to get more help than anybody that you could ever do business with in this space.
Do you think that's a skill that can be developed, or do you think you have to be born with it? Hey, really quick, I wanted to let you guys know about a 5-day challenge. It's called 5-Day Build a Video Challenge that we put together exactly for you, because if you're watching this, you're probably an entrepreneur, a business person, or a creator who's looking to monetize. And so if that's you, there's going to be a link in the description. We're going to be going over all of the things that I've learned and took away over the last 4 or 5 years to figure out how to make content work for your business and not against your business. And so for us, this is how we get about 90% of our clients within our business, and it's 10x, sometimes 100x our engagement and views and even leads. Same exact thing goes for all of our clients. And so if you're interested in this, click the link below and apply today. There's only a limited number of spots because it is one-on-one. And so hope to see you in the challenge. Let's get back to the episode.
I think you can develop it because I wasn't born with it. I was born and I struggled in school terribly. I was C- student up until I got into junior high, and this is part of that, believing in people and having a mentor that pours into you and makes you change your self-image of yourself. My granddad, the first day of junior high school, prayed over me, Heavenly Father, open up his mind and let him bring glory and honor and praise to your kingdom. That's all he said. And I got out, and from that day forward, I made straight A's, right? When we were throwing the discus, I was the littlest guy compared to everybody. And he said, you got it. You're going to be a state champion one day. And we worked on it. And at the state championship my senior year, where I broke the state record, I was a foot shorter than every single person out there on the field. But it's like, to me, I think it's who is your mentor, and are they able to sell you on believing in you?
Yeah, I think that's huge. So do you have a current mentor?
Oh yeah, I've got a bunch of mentors. You know, the main one is my grandfather. I seek his advice on a lot of different things, and I already know what he's going to say most of the time because
Yeah.
of the relationship we have. But I've got mentors in business. I've got mentors in the community. People like having lunch with Alan Hartman always gives me great joy because he's always got something insightful to say. Heck, even my team are mentors like John O'Flores, Paul Alanese, Robin Hicks, Shiloh Middleton. Um, those all have poured so much into me. Adam Bradshaw. Every, you can find a mentor in any. It doesn't you don't have to have it as a. I know that you're my mentor. I'm not asking you to
Mm-hmm.
be. It's people that pour into you. And do you listen and do you respect what they've got to say?
Yeah.
And there's a ton of people. My wife is a mentor to me
Yeah.
because she shares a different perspective than I can have. I think it's if you change the word mentor and look at it as like mastermind alliance. Do y'all connect and do you have harmony together? Like when the Lord says two or more are gathered in this, when two or more are gathered in my name, there I am also. I believe that it's this. If there's harmony in our conversation, we're going to both have ideas that we would not have otherwise had without the association of each other together in this spot, right? And I think that's what the Lord means by that is it creates a stimulation of ideas. And usually when someone's talking, if you got 2 ears to listen, I always come away with something good that could change or radically improve my business.
Yeah, and I think what you're describing sounds like community.
Yeah.
And so who are you hanging out with and who are you spending most of your time with is, I think, it makes a very large impact in the way your life looks. So how many people are at your company?
So, we've got a small team at Empire Management Group in terms of internal operation, but I work in different areas. Like Aflac is one of our business units that we run, and we've got 56 associates within the Aflac team, and they all work for themselves, right? And so that's their own business. I'm a mentor to them, but also I'm a service provider to them, right? If they have claim scenarios in the Aflac world that are complicated or need fixing, like they come to me, and I'm there to serve and support them and support their business. A lot of my business in the Aflac world is making sure they can effectively and most efficiently run their business and take care of their clients.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to other things that we do, we've got a team of about 12 people that we're working with. And that's going to grow, right? Your inner circle is super important. They've got to know what core values need to be had in order to be in the inner circle.
Yeah.
And I think it takes time. It takes time and having crucial conversations with people and protecting your brand from bringing in the wrong person, because a wrong hire can really, really hurt you.
Yeah, destroy things.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of talk with AI employees nowadays. Yeah. So what have y'all implemented any AI tools or softwares, or what does that look like for y'all?
So we do on some of our direct to consumer things. We have a lot of digital branding that we'll do when it comes to final expense insurance, Medicare insurance, and we have an AI bot that will conversate with someone to help us set an appointment direct to consumer, and that's been pretty handy because it's a simple task. You really scripted, and so it saved me a ton of money from having someone sitting on the phone all day and trying to schedule me appointments, to now be able to have that if they say, well, how much does it cost? I've already got a pre-programmed response that they're going to get, that AI bot's working with, just to get them in front of me, right? It's letting me be more in the business and not trying to do so much administrative stuff.
Yeah. So how much do you think you've saved using AI tools?
Oh my gosh.
Because I know that me personally, and we're only like a few people here at Howdy, but we have personally probably saved, just this year alone, I can probably $30,000 or $40,000 in like contracted out services
Yeah.
that I would have had to pay for editing, researching, writing, advertise. Like, you can't even put a number on it right now.
I honestly couldn't put a number on it because of the increases in, like, if we didn't have it, I wouldn't be able to do as much business as I do now.
Yeah.
Like, and so you take the cost, the cost benefit analysis of it. Like, I bet it's north of $100,000 that
Yeah.
we've been able to gain having these tools like Touch. And I'm going to give Touch Points a plug. Matt Gary at Touch Points. If y'all want a great texting platform that you can plug things in and set up pre-programmed campaigns, or just communicate with people at the touch of a button. Touch Points is the best texting campaign tool I've ever come across.
Is there AI implemented in it?
It's not AI implemented, but I mix it with some AI implementation in terms of building campaigns.
Yeah.
But it has saved me a ton of time. Like, for instance, setting interviews, right? I can communicate with 55 candidates that applied for a position and schedule those interviews with, and sometimes we do group stuff. So I may send out, hey, you open on Wednesday at 8:00, and it can go to 50 people at one time. And they respond to me, and I've got a platform that I'm able to text each one of them. I use it for claims even. A lot of our policyholders that text in, like my assistants, they all have access to it. And so we're not missing things.
Yeah.
When a claim comes in, you can sort it with color. It's a really cool tool.
Huh.
Really cool.
Interesting. Speaking of tools, one question I always like to ask is, what was that one book that you have read and that you would recommend any entrepreneur read?
I would say You Can Have What You Want If You Find It Within Yourself by Robert Russell is one of the best spiritual led books that I've had to read. And then when it comes to Think and Grow Rich is probably the other one. Think and Grow Rich is one that opened up my mind, and I think it's the reason. God's the reason for everything, but God gives us understanding of certain things that we can use in our behalf and in our favor. Think and Grow Rich is one book mixed with some study with Bob Proctor that opened up my mind and has allowed me to attract better things to me.
Yeah.
It's allowed me to get out of the mental prison that I think I was in, from environment or from, different things that had occurred for me. I'm just going to be honest.
Yeah. So do you think there was any limiting beliefs whenever you were getting into business? Because, like, for me, as an example, whenever I first started, I would get a job for $500 and I would think I just won the lottery, right? Yeah. And so I broke through that limiting belief. And now we're sending out crazy quotes, and it's like I'm breaking more limiting beliefs and just trying to figure out, like, that kind of thing. But have you experienced any of those moments of, like, you're like, man, this would be crazy, and then, like, once you hit that, then it's like, what is that feeling of, okay, now do you struggle with going to the next goal or setting goals too high? I don't know. Does that make sense?
I used to big time. I used to think that I used to think in scarcity, right? But I don't know who told me this. I can't remember who told me this, but he said God supplies like an ocean, and if you go to the ocean with a teaspoon, that's all you're going to get. You might as well take a bucket. Or it's really based on what you ask.
Yeah.
If you ask, if you knock, if you seek, you'll find, right? And I think it's just connecting with that idea and convincing yourself, yeah, I had a ton of limiting beliefs. You got to convince yourself that you're worth it and that you can provide. And convincing yourself that you can, I think, leads to figuring out how to.
Yeah.
Because just having the belief, if I believe I can provide $1 million worth of value, but my skill set's only a $50,000 value, then I'm only ever going to be $50K, even though I believe it. But I think it's the belief that gets you set on the path of doing the work required.
Yeah.
to produce that kind of value.
And that's one thing. So there's a lot of photographers and videographers who they come to me and ask questions now because I've been doing it for a few years. And they'll tell me their pricing structure and everything. And one of the big things is for service-based business like this, 95% of people price things at an hourly rate.
Yeah.
Instead of a value-based rate. And so like that's one of the things that I have learned, because at the beginning I was doing hourly and I was like, so you're telling me if I get a job done quicker, I'm going to get paid less.
Yeah.
And so that was another limiting belief. And so I just try to encourage them. And if you're listening to this and you're doing a service-based business or whatever it is that you can have control over pricing, like, I don't know, just try. Like the next project, pitch double what you normally would and see what happens. The worst they can say is no.
Right. But you better provide double the value.
Yeah, but you better provide double the value. Sweet. Okay, so what would be, like, what was the best piece of advice that you have ever heard from any of your mentors or people you've worked with in the past? That's a big one. And it could be anything. Like it could be family, it could be spiritual, it could be.
Yeah. I'd say it a lot, because attitude makes the difference a lot of times in what you can do. And if you're not expecting seasons of life to occur, if you don't expect that sometimes when you're sowing seeds and you're doing the best you can, it's going to land on thorny ground and nothing's going to grow. If you don't understand that can be a reality, you're going to get frustrated and you might quit sowing. Right. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people let bad circumstances stop them from doing the things that they were doing in the beginning to be successful. Right. No matter what season of life we're going through, it's what you do about it that makes the difference in how it works out long term. 7 years of feast, 7 years of famine. You're going to go through some tough stuff in life. But if you maintain a good attitude, you keep a clear picture of the vision that you want and the vision you seek, and you do things out of the love of your heart, and you just go to work every day on it with a good positive attitude, everything will be okay in the end.
Yeah.
And I think that was some of the best advice that I've been given, because there's been highs and there's been lows, right? You got to be humble when you're in the highs, because you dealt a good card. You're reaping the blessings of all you sown. Some people get complacent because they've done so well and they quit sowing. It's just a matter of time. You're going to fall flat on your face again. Yeah. You have to you got to keep moving the needle. Some people run away from poverty, and then once they get away from it, they quit doing the things that got them out of it.
Yep.
It's either you can run away from it, but you got to burn the fuel that's there. If it's running away from something difficult or running towards something that you really, really want, you just got to stay locked in. Figuring out how to lock yourself in.
Even when it gets hard.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
And things don't work out. Like, they don't always work out. One of my favorite sayings is, you can't fail if you never quit.
Amen.
And so the whole last year, I've been just like, that's been one of my things. Is like, there's going to be bad months. There's going to be good months. But like, if you never stop, then you will never fail. And it doesn't matter if it's starting a new business, closing down another one. Like, if you're an entrepreneur and this is in your heart and the Lord's giving you this passion, it's like, you cannot fail if you don't quit. So I think that, just to add on to that, I think that's super good.
Absolutely. I think that the Lord has called us to do great and mighty things. And if we let the world convince us that we're nobody, we're going to choose to be nobody. But then that's what the world wants. The force of average is out there after everybody. And I think that purpose is a self-discovery process. You have to discover why you're here. And we're all blessed endowed with gifts. We have tremendous reservoirs of talent and ability within us. And if we awoken those reservoirs of talent and ability and just even used a little bit of them, we would reach heights such as which we never even imagined we could be.
Yeah.
But I think it's the world that breeds that negativity and puts that negativity in people's mind, and it stunts their growth. We have the choice to go after something big. We have the choice to risk it all and go out there and start a business. But if we don't, I believe that one day when we reach St. Peter's kingdom, or the kingdom, and we meet St. Peter, we are going to find a version of ourselves that could have been, and we're going to see a picture of that version, and I think we're going to be asked, hey, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you hear the signs, see the signs that this is the decision you needed to make? Because we're all gifted with decision. You know, a major thing that can change someone's life, a major action is murder, right? Change your life forever. It could, and the flip side, on the positive side, is start the business. You know, have the family. Don't be in such scarcity mindset saying, I don't need to have kids. You know, you could be raising the next president of the United States. So many different things that come up. I feel like that the Lord is calling us to, that we allow negativity and cynical minded people to talk us out of. And sometimes that cynical minded person is us.
Yeah. No, that's 100% true. So what does being a business owner look like for you as like a family man? With your marriage, with your kids, how have you found the harmony between the two things in your life?
It's hard because sometimes the family can feel like they're competing for time against the business. And unless you've casted the vision and they can see the vision of the harvest of what we're working for, why we're doing it, sometimes it becomes a frictional part of what's going on. Sometimes that friction can overflow into conversations that leave you distracted as the business owner. So you have to be 110% in both places, and the family has to know where we're going in order for them to be on board. And that's a hard thing to do. You know, some people get their world, like Adam had his world in order before God gave him Eve. We're not always in that position that's going to happen, right? Like I made too many mistakes in my early 20s to have a great business whenever I met my wife, you know. And so we're in the process of building that together, and there's some difficulty in there, but I think that the friction, it sharpens you. Iron sharpens iron, not because it's soft and fuzzy, right? It's because it's grinding against each other. That iron, my wife sharpens me, my kids sharpen me. When my kids miss me, it gives me even more desire to go out there and go crush it, because I know I'm spending time away from them. I better be doing the most possible I can to be able to give them the most back and reach the heights that we're trying to go to. Because I feel like as small businesses, when we start a business, we're doing it for this big dream. But the truth is, we got to have systems in place. We got to have people in place, because eventually, like, what we're going to find is that we're the hamster running in the wheel to make this thing turn. And if we get off that wheel, it doesn't turn. And now we got all this risk and all this debt. Like, at some point, it's one of the books, Growing Pains. It's a big book. I forget who it's by, but it talks about the entrepreneur initially being a prophet, and you got to recruit barbarians to your cause, people that are going to go fight for you. And then it's systems, and then you're putting in place proper procedures that now you can step back and look at it. But you're always going to be involved at some level. It's just trying to get past the initial burn of you being the only one trying. And I think once you get past that, then work-life balance can be a part of what you got going on. I personally involve my kids in my business. Like, part of our deal is sales and customer relations. Like, if I'm taking, my wife makes brownies, we may go all jump in the car and go take brownies out to people that our clients and drop them off, and my kids go in with me. I try to involve them in any way that I can. If we go on trips, unless it's down to the border, if we're going to Dallas or somewhere, we all go together. Like, I'm working during the day, but they go out and have fun at the aquarium or do the zoo. Like, I just try to involve them in every aspect that I can, in order to maintain that and find the joy in the now, right? Because I don't want them also miss by being so passionate and fired up about my business. I don't want to miss right now. Like, so you got to, there's definitely a hard trade-off. But I think cast the vision, make sure they know where you're going, and spend what time you can with them.
Yeah. No, I think that's huge. So you talked about the hamster wheel. How long did you feel like you were on that hamster wheel? Do you still feel like you're on the hamster wheel?
I'm still on it.
Okay.
I'm still on it.
Do you feel like it's gotten better?
Oh yeah. Well, if I would have been in one business this whole time, I'd be 10 years in it. I've had to restart a couple of times,
Yeah.
self-inflicted mistakes, no doubt. But, we're 2 years in on this deal, and really with the vision and the things that had in place, we're really only about a year and a half in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I expect to be on the hamster wheel.
That's not very long.
No, we're barely getting started.
Wow.
And so I'm still recruiting people to the cause. I'm still looking for people that desire to be an entrepreneur. Maybe not have the vision for themselves, but they want to be a part of something bigger. They want to be a part of
They
something.
want to help that vision.
They want to help that. Some people are better number 2, 3, 4 guys than they are number 1 guys. Yeah. I may be a better 2 or 3, 2 or 3 guy myself, but I just keep having these ideas that I don't want to let go. But,
yeah. I mean, I think that's the hamster wheel ideas. I've never thought about it like that, but I feel it. And so that's been one of the things that I've been trying to figure out is how to delegate more, even if it costs the business more money. But if it means that I go get to spend an afternoon with my 4-month-old daughter and my wife, like, I will gladly pay money. I didn't have that luxury, and it's still not always like super easy to do that. But for the first 2 years, I mean, you don't have that option at all. It's like we are taking any job, we are taking any check that we can possibly find to make this business run and grow. I didn't even know. So I was in college when I started this. I didn't know that it was a thing that you could go get a loan to start a business. So I was like, okay, I just had to like post Facebook things and try to get anything. And so I would do enough jobs to save up for another piece of equipment, do it again. And it just gradually built up. And then somebody one time was like, why don't you get a loan to buy some of that stuff? I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Well, I'll just be honest with you. The borrower is slave to the lender. I did the same thing. I didn't go get a whole lot of loans. I think you did the right thing.
Looking back, it's the harder route.
Yeah.
But it's more fruitful whenever you pull something like that off. And I've had some people even be like, hey, I want to invest in your company in exchange for like equity or whatever. I'm like, I can't do that yet, or maybe ever. I don't know. Anyways, that's a whole other conversation. Yeah. But delegation has been huge, especially since I've had my daughter. It's completely changed the way I looked at everything. And literally, I think you told me this, and I don't know why it's stuck in my head so much, but you were like, or I said, hey, like we just had a baby or something, and you're like, man, you're about to become a way better businessman. I was like, yeah, I never thought of it like that, but I was like, I don't know why, but I think about that like weekly. And I'm like, am I doing everything that I can to be able to spend time with Livy and all the things as like a dad and a husband go through in their mind. But yeah, man, thanks for coming on the podcast today. For the entrepreneurs who are on the fence of like wanting to start something, what would you say to them? What would that piece of advice be? Start now with where you're at and have a clear vision of where you're going. The how does not matter, but if you keep as a man thinketh in his heart, so shall he become. If you're thinking about your goals every day and you're not letting negativity get in the way and you're driving toward that every single day, do it. One of the best things my granddad told me when I was going through all that BS was, when you've done all you can do to stand, son, stand and be okay with it. Just do all you can do. And I think that God gives us, God does with and through us. Like he's going to do for us what he can do with and through us. And if we stop, his blessings cannot be poured out. And so you got to start where you are, have faith in where you're going, have faith tell your mountain about your God. Never think about it in the opposite way, because if you do, you're never going to be successful anyway. You got to have an enormous amount of faith, and you got to go to work every day doing the best you can do. And you're going to have good ideas. You're going to have great ideas that help your business, but just expect it to be slow. Don't have unexamined assumptions. Don't assume it should be easier than it is.
Just live life, live today. If it's hard, deal with it hard. If it's awesome, embrace the love and like, hey, yes, finally celebrate yourself. But it's building a business is like raising kids. We don't know how well we did until 20 years down the road.
Yep.
Right? And so just do it, man. If you have the desire to do it, just do it. Because at the end of the day, you could be creating something that brings glory, honor, and praise, brings tithes and offerings to the kingdom that would not have been there, and you may create a space where people can come and do things they could not have otherwise done without your company. And at the end of the day, we need more of that. We need to have more kids. We need to build businesses, and that's going to protect the future of our country. That's going to protect the future of what God is doing in this movement.
Yeah. No, I think, and just to add on really briefly to that, so what the scripture that came to my mind is in Genesis, we're created in the likeness and image of God. And so God created, he's a creator. We are designed in his image, so we should go and create things too, Absolutely. No matter what that is. And so don't be afraid to jump in the water. You never know, he may part the seas.
He will. He will.
So anyways, thanks for coming on, Tylynne. Hope you gained some value out of today's episode, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.